Hello and welcome to Oversight. I am Charles Imuze. On today's episode of the program, we go to Ogbomoso in Oyo State to track some projects. But before we do that, this is what you should know about Oyo State.
Oyo is located in the southwest geopolitical zone of Nigeria. Oyo State was one of the three states carved out of the former western state of Nigeria in 1976. Its capital is Ibadan, and it is the third most populous city in the country, and formerly the second most populous city in Africa. Oyo State shares borders with Ogun State in the south and Kwara State in the north, bordering Cameroon to the east. Oyo State has 33 local government areas, 29 local council development areas, and 3 senatorial districts, namely Oyo North, Oyo South, and Oyo Central. Oyo State has 3 senators and 14 members in the Federal House of Representatives. In 2021, Oyo State received a total sum of 1.88 billion naira from zonal intervention funds, known as constituency projects. We embark on a journey to Ajinapa, located about 30 kilometers from Ogbomoso. Ogbomoso is home to the popular Laduke Akintola University of Technology. Ajinapa is an agrarian community in Orire local government area for your state with about 3,000 residents. It consists of villages like Oloke and Tewure. Ajinapa is part of Ogbomoso North, Ogbomoso South, and Orire Federal Constituency and is represented by Honorable Ajao Adejumo in the Federal House of Representatives and Senator Abdul Fatai Buhari in the Senate. Ajinapa has one of the water scheme projects approved by the federal government in 2014 through the Ogun-Osun River Basin Development Authority. The project entailed the construction of a water dam for the community. 6 years after, what has become of the Ajinapa Water Scheme? Is it serving the intended purpose? We visited Ajinapa to find out.
Akàrí pé wọ́n gbẹ ni àrí pé kí wọ́n ní omi ní àwọn òfìsè pé tí ó wúlò fún gbogbo wa tá rò mọ́ mu tá mọ́ lù gbogbo Àjínàpá Tewúre Ọlọ́run dábọ̀sẹ̀ rọ̀ lọ́bàún tọ̀ ìgbà tó sì yá wọ́n sí lẹ́ẹ̀kan ṣoṣo tí wọ́n sì ìgbà tí wọ́n ti sí lẹ́ẹ̀kan mo padà wá ibẹ̀ mọ́.
They do it for community, for the benefit of community. Oloke here, Ajinapa, Tewure, another village. So since they were finished it, no water, no anything.
The facility is deserted and not functional. The equipment are rusting away. The water reservoirs were empty and littered. No one was around. We were welcomed with loud silence and birds chirping. Oloki village is just a few hundred meters from the Ajinapa Dam. They lack access to potable water. The Ajinapa Dam has not served the people of Oloki despite its proximity. They resort to getting water from a well, and from the look of it, it is highly unhygienic.
tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ omi yìí ni à ń mu kó tó di pé wọ́n sọ di dáàmù tó gbà wọ́n sọ di dáàmù tán àwọn olóṣèlú á ní láti mọ bá wọn sọ̀rọ̀ pé a ní omi láti mu wọ́n fi gbẹ́ omi yẹn fún wa ní kànga tó ẹ̀yìn ẹ̀rẹ́ yìí gbà wọ́n wá sí dáàmù yìí àwọn tí wọ́n wá sí gan wọn ò mú omi pure water ni wọ́n kó wá ó wà ń jẹ́ bànújẹ́ ọkàn fún yẹn gbà tí wọ́n wá ṣe dáàmù tán tí wọ́n ń fa omi lọ káàkiri sí àwọn ò nílò omi bì ní wọ́n ní àwọn yojúlé àwọn wọn ò yọ anything lẹ̀ àti gbà tó láti gbà kámú.
From Oloke village, we proceeded to Ajinapa to speak with the community leader. David Areum is the Alajinapa of Ajinapa and he is unhappy with the state of the project.
ṣùgbọ́n níbẹ̀rẹ̀ pẹ̀pẹ̀ tí wọ́n wá ṣe ní Àjínàpá yìí ọ̀pọ̀ Àjínàpá yìí wọ́n la ọ̀nà rẹ̀ lọ tewúre pé yóò dé tewúre àwọn àdìkan ká lò ó torí pé omi yẹn pọ̀ èmi mo jì sanwó ẹ̀ níjọ́ náà nígbà wọ́n yí pé tewúre làwọn ò mú lọ ìlú tó wà lẹ́yìn wa ńkọ́ bó owó bá jẹ́ rọ̀ nígbà tó ti pé omi ń pọ̀ kò síbi tí ò ní dé ẹjọ́ wáyé lè dé àárín ìyàn tó dá dúró gẹ́gẹ́ bí mo ṣe rí yín tí ẹjọ́ òde tẹ́ pé tomi rẹ bá wà ó dùn mọ́ mi torí pé ipa wa ti pín àti lágbára kankan papọ̀ máwọn ìlú bí àjẹ́ pé kíjọba ọ̀run àlọ́.
The water pipes now serve as mere furniture and have been repurposed for other use. Ademuyiwa Adeyemi is the project tracking officer for budget in Oyo State. He tells us more about the project.
When I saw the publication, it was 190 million for the completion of the work. I came to the site and I met the contractor. I do come often and often, collect the data, the stage at which the work is going. And when it got to a certain time, I asked him how far about the project. He said the project has been penned. And I asked him why. He said that is where the fund reached. And from my own research, I got to know that previous funds has been releasing for this project before the year 2015, which it was actually 119 million. When a huge amount of money is being incurred on a good project like this, and at the end of the day, we cannot see the effect of it, it's very, 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 very bad to the community.
The contractor for this project is Eurobell International Limited. The company drilled and expanded the Tewure River in the outskirts of Ajinapa. The water supply scheme, located about 3 kilometers from Ajinapa, was supposed to serve about 3,000 people in the community and adjoining villages, but it never worked beyond the moment it was commissioned. We made an effort to reach the contractor using the listed address on the website of the Corporate Affairs Commission. There was a 196 million naira allocation in the 2015 budget for constituency project for the completion of the Ajinapa Water Scheme. This was facilitated by Honorable Mulikat Adeola. She represented Ajinapa till 2015 in the Federal House of Representatives. The Ogun Osun River Basin Development Authority supervised the Ajinapa Water Scheme. This agency was indicted in the 2016 report by the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation for mismanagement of funds. The report alleges about 1.3 billion naira was mismanaged by the Ogun Osun River Basin Development Authority. A representative of Paradigm Leadership Support Initiative shares some light on the background story to the Ajinapa Water Project.
The Ajinapa Water Scheme, in the work, I think he appeared sometime in 2018 when we were looking at some projects that have been abandoned or poorly implemented, by federal agencies. And then we came across this mini water scheme happened to be located in Oyo State. And then we began monitoring the project. What we found out at the time was that the project had initially been awarded in 2012. I think precisely October 5th, 2012, it was awarded for 449.7 million naira to a company. And during that process, we realized that 449.1 million naira was paid, to the contractor. And at the time when we came across, that information, we also realized that I think about more than 500,000 was being owed the contractor at the time. But there were, some things that happened in the process of executing that first phase of the contract. Number one is that the bill of quantities for that contract, was consciously loaded, with unjustifiable expenditure to the tune of more than 48 million naira. There was also a provisional sum for contingency purposes that amounted to more than 20 million. Now, what we then realized was that in 2014, there was also another award of contract on that same project, which was now tagged phase 2 of Ajinapa Water Scheme. That project, the second phase was now awarded for 249.3 million in 2014. But we then realized that there was a payment to a contractor on that same project in October, I think precisely October 16, 2015. There was another payment of 187.7 million naira. So this is different from the 449.1 million that was paid, shortly after 2012. We now have another 187.7 million naira that is, that was now paid again to another contractor on a phase 2, supposedly phase 2 aspect of the project. But, I think one of the issues that, the auditors from the Office of the Auditor General for the Federation flagged on that project, aside from the fact that, there were conscious loading of the BOQ to the tune of more than 48 million, there was also a provisional sum of more than 20 million, which the auditors felt should have been used for this second phase of the project. After all, the first phase, appeared to have been completed. So if there were additional works that ought to have been done on the project, that provisional sum for contingency purposes for which 20 million was allocated in the first phase of the project should have gone into this other, aspect. But you then realize that there was an entirely new award of contract, tag phase 2 of Ajinapa, Water Scheme. Between 2012 and this 2015 that we are talking about, Honorable Mulikat Akonde was at the center of the project. But legislators always have this idea that they only, nominate projects and they are not at the center of the execution. And our own, question had always been at PLSR is that you can't tell us that you are not at the center of the execution. While we are calling for citizens to monitor implementation of government projects, they will monitor the implementation of government projects through their elected representatives. When they visited that project, the communities then, fed them back, saying that the only time water came out from that water scheme was the day it was launched. There was an alternative power, supply equipment in generator that was provided there, but none has been to the service of the community. And if you go there today, I don't think the story has changed for residents of Ajinapa, which is in Orire local government. Since 2018, we have been following up more than 16 or 17 projects that were handled by Mosho River Basin Development Authority, as well as Lower Niger River Basin Development Authority. And we had written to them to provide us with certain information, which they didn't oblige us with. But What we did was to then engage anti-corruption agency to follow up all of these issues that we highlighted with Ogun River Basin Development Authority. And we are still on it. A couple of those issues have been resolved, but for those that have not been resolved, that haven't been closed out, we're still on it, and we will get to the bottom of these issues.
Potable water supply is not the only challenge faced by Ajinapa community. Accessible road network also adds to that list. The Ajinapa-Orire road links both communities and is important to aid the movement of goods and services within both communities. From Ajinapa in Oyo State, we revisit a project in Cross River State, the Akampa Civic Center project that was never built. We have been provided an update that the project was executed but domiciled in a different location. We were able to speak to Senator Gershom Bassey, and this is what he told us.
Constituency projects are one of the key tools that the federal government, the executive, uses to reach the people. And I think it's an essential part of budgeting. If left to me, I would have even said that they should increase the amounts that are used for constituency projects because they really do hit home. And we are, even though we represent our people, we are the link between the federal government and the people on the ground. And so passing these projects through us or making us nominate these projects creates a massive impact for the federal government. The important thing about constituency projects is that once you put the funds into the budget, the responsibility of the legislature ends, of the lawmaker ends. It now becomes an executive responsibility because it is the executive that are responsible for going through the proper due process, for awarding the contracts to the contractors that win, and so on and so forth. So the responsibility of us we the lawmakers is merely to identify projects that you feel are important to your constituency. And you'll know that for most constituencies in this country, the only way in which they feel the federal government's presence is through constituency projects. And so we decided to build them a town hall, which we delivered. No, from the constituency funds, the constituency project funds. We built them a town hall. You can easily track items on the national budget. And the constituency projects are part of the national budget. All your reporter should have done was to go and see the paramount, or the chief there, and the chief would have taken him to the location of the project. The project is actually very visible. As you enter Oban, you will see the project. It's not a hidden project. So I think that I want to task, not just, I don't want to pick on channels, but I want to task journalists to be very thorough when they're doing their investigations. So I don't know why the senators are being chased, but definitely senators are not responsible for executing those projects. That's number one. Two, we know that not just for constituency projects, projects in general, you've talked about 56 or whatever it is, 1,000, projects in general suffer from, or have suffered in the past, from the budget cycle, the funding of the federal budget. I think last year was the first time that we had 100% release on the federal budget. So clearly we have been having 60%, 50%, whatever it is, percentage release on the federal budget. And of course, if there's no funding, the projects have to stop. They will be abandoned, and when you come back the next year, you probably don't even roll over that project. You come with new projects. So there's been an issue of budgeting. And that, to my mind, is what has been largely responsible for the abandoning projects. I mean, there are other issues, but I think the key issue is budgeting. Normally, when you put a constituency project in the budget, you expect that you put in all the funds for that, and that's why you find that constituency projects are not big things; they are small things. So, if you're building a town hall, for instance, it's something that can be finished within that budget cycle. And so that's what really happens and so if you're talking about the constituency projects, I'm not sure that the turnover in senators and House of Reps members really impacts too much. It does have an impact sometimes, but it doesn't impact too much on constituency projects. I, for instance, will not put a project into the budget that I cannot fund, or the budget cannot fund in a budget year. So that's what most people do. Like I said, that's not the key issue. The key issue is the funding for the national budget. That's the key issue. You have a 4-year mandate. You are a senator until the last day of your mandate. So why would you not want to do things for your people? It doesn't make, to me, it doesn't make sense. You have to continue working for your people until the last day. And if working for your people means locating projects in your constituencies, in the villages, in the local governments, in the wards, and so on, then you must do that until the last day.
The Akampa project highlights one of the key challenges faced when tracking constituency project, which is the vague description of project locations. Gabriel Okewo, the Chief Executive Officer of Budget, tells us more about this.
One of the aim of the oversight program, as I believe, is not for us to showcase problems in project implementation and leave the problem as problem, right? One of the objectives of this program is for us to see issues around implementation of projects, and then when we bring them up, show them in the hair, we are able to see situations where contractors go back to site, or we have government officials or government agencies coming back to clarify and educate us. Perhaps we are not so clear in our claim or in our tracking, which in this case is what I've seen the distinguished senator trying to do. So I will first of all want to take it as a success story first, to say we went after tracking a project, and our result of that tracking says that the project was not implemented, but we have the respective senator that is able to call our attention to say, no, that is not the case. The project is actually implemented, however, not in the community you went to look for the project, but in another community. So for us and for me, I really think that is first a success story. Right, and then now going back to the project itself, the tracking of the project starts from how well, how detailed, how clear the project details are well written in the approved budget documents. I mean, the Appropriation Act is a public document that anyone in a democratic setting, anyone should be able to go to the office or to the website of the budget office of the Federation, download the budget documents, see any project that interests them or that is in their local community, and then be willing to track if they want to track. Right, and then when they want to track, the project's details should be clear enough that once it is picked, irrespective of who that person is, the detail of the project is clear enough, can lead the person that is interested in tracking that project to exactly where the project is situated. So the case we have at hand is a case of a non-specified project location. So according to the project description on the approved budget document, says construction of town hall in Akampa community, right? Is there a community like that? Yes. Is a project situated in a community like that? No, by our monitoring. However, when we brought this out, the distinguished senator that nominated the project was able to call our attention and said, no, the project was actually nominated, but you didn't do your job well, which we accepted. And I'm happy that we've now gone to the field to go and see the project. We are happy that the project, yes, we could see that the project has been implemented. However, we were also able to see that unlike what was written in the approved budget document that said Akampa community, what we now found in the project signboard, or where the project was eventually built, is urban Akampa. So it's just like if we are in Lagos, if I use Lagos as an example, if I tell you a project will be done in Ifako, right? By your sense, Ifako is around Bagada. But Ifako in Bagada is different from Ifako Ijayi, that is in Ogba. Do you get? So when there is no clarity and specificity in terms of location of projects, this situation is bound to happen. And I bear to say that this is not the first one. These are issues that we have been clamoring about, we have been talking about. In the zonal intervention project in 2020, there are about projects that we could not specify, that we could not get exactly location of where they are going to be implemented, amounted to about 2.1 billion naira in the 2020 budget. In the 2021 approved budget, project that lack specific location, that if interested parties like us that want to track the project, we cannot really say where these projects are going to be implemented for us to be able to track them. By our calculation, amounted to about 1.5 billion naira, right? So this case at hand is a case of a project that was nominated for the good people of a community, but lacks a clear detail of exactly where it is going to be nominated.
According to the website of the Budget Office of the Federation, the Civic Center project was described as follows. 2019 ZIP 702. Construction of Town Hall at Akankpa in Cross River State Senatorial District, Cross River State. Amount 31 million naira.
Well, this is the much we can take on today's episode of the program. Remember, the journey to transparency and accountability is still far ahead. We ask that you play your part, get involved, and ask questions. Till I come your way again, I'm Charles Imuzi. Thank you for watching.